Hello and welcome inside the scores table. Brian Haenchen and Danny Riego here with you, recapping the first 2 days, 1 day really of games from the past week as we get closer and closer to sectional draw Sunday. We'll be live at 10 o'clock sectional draw Sunday night. Hopefully the NFC Championship game will be done by then. The draw will be done. I'll have a first story up already from that by then, so be sure to tune in. Good show for you lined up here tonight. We're going to be joined by Hamilton Heights coach Erin Trimpe and Evansville Central coach oh my God, Danny, what is wrong with me? We're going to be joined by Maddy Shirley and, oh my God, David Alexander from Evansville Central. I'm still recovering from that drive back from Warsaw at 1 a.m, obviously. That's clearly what's going on. It wasn't even 1 a.m, at like midnight. It wasn't that bad at all, actually.
But you stopped to write. You stopped to write on what, State Road 15, right?
No, I went to the Warsaw McDonald's down the street. Sat there for an hour or so and got it banged out with the video. How was your drive back?
It's not that far of a drive. I was joking with people at the gym that at times I find myself going at unsafe speeds. Maybe sometimes but Warsaw is like if GPS tells you that it's an hour and 50 minutes to get there, it's the minute shave. Like it's not hard to make up a lot of time. So for me, it wasn't bad.
We live on different parts of town. I live a little bit closer to downtown, I think, than you, so which I think adds a little bit of extra time because it's a flat 2 hours for me.
Yeah,
despite my best efforts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I'm on the northeast side. I actually start going east before I pick up the
interesting
the state roads that go due north.
Tiger Den, by the way, first time seeing it. That's a cool barn.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I say this a lot just to kind of provide the history of architecture, I guess, of the gyms. But one of our favorite gyms, Hank, and you and I share in this opinion, is the Mill at Noblesville.
Yeah.
And many have heard me say this before, but the Mill was architecturally, the Tiger Den was the inspiration, I guess, of how it was constructed. And if you look at the distance of the bleachers, the way that the bleachers are, the way that they have the crow's nests in each of the four corners, the walls in each of the end zones, like it is just a larger version of the Mill.
Yeah, man, I kept sitting there and I was trying to figure out why that felt so familiar in there, and that's why. It's because of the Mill. You're right, one of the best gyms in Central Indiana. There was a basketball game last night that Danny and I both were in attendance for. Homestead, number 3 in the state, takes down number 1 in the state, Warsaw, 66-52. Some quick statistics on the Homestead side: Carly Mullering, 21 points; Gabby Helsum, 14; Whitney Ankerbrook, 13; Maya Epps, 8; and Delaney Knoll, 6. The Warsaw side, Josh Bricker had 31. She scored 26 of the team's 30 points in the first half. That was held to 5 points, only 1 field goal in the second. Brooke Zartman, 12 points, all of those on three-pointers, and all of those in the second half. It's worth noting that Warsaw was without Lex Neely and Reagan Huss. But still, I mean, you asked the question, how much to read into it last night, and I think I've come to the conclusion that I think offensively you can take a lot away from Homestead, specifically in how they shared the ball, and that's something that I want to dive in for you. Defensively, I think that it looks a little bit different maybe without Alexis Neely out there specifically, because they were able to maybe dial in a little bit more on Bricker and Zartman. But yeah, that's where I'll start things. I'll leave it open-ended. Danny, I'll let you direct the conversation here, and I'll follow.
I don't think it can be overstated how balanced Homestead is, and I don't think that is a surprise that we lead with that. Mm-hmm. But if you think about who's at the top of that balance, it does seem to be somebody different in a lot of these big games. We'll take it back earlier in the season when Homestead hosted Pike. I think maybe when they were even number 1 in the state. I think it was Gabby Helsum that had 30 in a rivalry game and a girls-boys doubleheader just last week. We saw Maya Epps have 42 points. Delaney Knoll, who sat out the first few games with an injury, came back and I think had 3 consecutive games where she had 8 assists. We celebrated Eva Scarberry and her contributions off the bench. And last night you lead with a game-high 21 with Carly Mullering.
Yeah,
like they're seemingly taking turns. And that's not like Ankenbrook, I think, had 13 last night. That she's had many games where she's been the lead person that's just affecting the offensive side. But I said it can't be overstated. It cannot be overstated. Like that, those are really difficult teams to guard. And in basketball games that you don't maybe have everything working, they have multiple options to go to that have all now had experience being the person that just kind of won them a game on the offensive side. My second point, and then I'll let you comment on either of these or both of these, was I thought their adjustments on you mentioned, I think it was Jocelyn Bricker, like 26. What was that?
31 and 26 in the first half.
Let's do this. Let's stay on the offensive side first.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
we'll get to the defensive side on Homestead. Just it's the balance, right, Hank?
It is, and I liked Rod. I talked to Rod Parker after the game, and he described it as that senior class. He's very open. He's like, it wasn't always the chemistry didn't come naturally. The way they shared the ball didn't come naturally, and he described it. He said the senior class, and he said that, and he made sure to make it clear that he meant that in like the highest of terms, in a very good and positive way. But when you have that, and you and I have talked about this, it can be difficult to, I don't know if sacrifice is the right word, but sacrifice a little bit to play together as a team. And with time, and Gabby Helsum said that it's up now that everybody's committed. Now they're kind of doing that, and they're gelling, and it's easier to get behind that one common goal of let's just win the game. And like you said, I mean, the selflessness of this team is unbelievable. At the beginning of the game, it was Mollering, where I think she had 3 first quarter threes as she went back and forth, basically with just Jocelyn Bricker, to have 9 points. She's an Indiana Wesleyan commit. I want to spotlight Epps because she didn't shoot. She had a tough time getting shots to fall last night. She had a number of shots that looked good. The one that really stands out to me was that I think at the end of the third quarter where she shot it from the top of the arc, and it looked like it was going down. Like it looked like that was going to be the backbreaker. Spun out, popped out, and you just see Maya look at the rim, and she's just like, you got to be freaking kidding me. And I mean, fair. That was a little ridiculous, but she kept herself in the game. We'll talk about the defensive contributions here in a second, but offensively, some really good passes. Good job kicking the ball up there, and, you know, the hockey assist, so to speak. She had a few of those. Delaney Knoll, that was my first time seeing her healthy all season. I mean, as good as advertised. She's, I think, probably the third point that we get to when we talk about Homestead on this side. And then Gabby Helsum, as people know, her first game back was that Pike game as she deals with a back injury. And I mean, that kid's toughness is just unreal. I didn't have a chance to talk to her or about it last night, but just watching her on the bench, she's clearly in some pain in between plays. You watch her out there, and I mean, for her to battle through that and still to put up the numbers that she does and to play as hard as she does, I mean, just incredible respect for that young lady and what she's going through and dealing with pain-wise, because it's unbelievable. But again, just the balanced way that they share the ball is remarkable, and it's really unique. And last night, I think, especially there on the offensive end, was just kind of like it felt like a statement game, or at the very least kind of an affirmation game, because we all knew Homestead was good, but now it's like, oh, they're that good. And yeah, that's where I am on them offensively.
You mentioned Epps, and I don't follow the game statistically as much as I probably should. I'm just kind of looking for things that kind of happen individually in little different episodes throughout the game. You mentioned that Neely and Huss were out for Warsaw, so obviously there's a lack of depth that is already a pre-existing condition with Warsaw. When you take those 2 starters out at the beginning of the game, it's a tall task, and the game flow completely changes. Kaiser, who's one of their contributors, even with Huss and Neely in the lineup, Kaiser is one of their kids that contributes on both ends of the floor to them quite a bit. She got in foul trouble. 4 fouls, ATO situation. They put Epps on strong side block, throw it into her. Very simple, just shimmy, drop, step, layup. Like they were in a rhythm last night. Eve, it threw out that balance. You mentioned Mollering's threes in the first half. Gabby Helsum was also a kid who was very reliable in regards to hitting shots when she got open looks. But then Maya, like when she has to perform in a spot where she has a kid on her back that has 4 fouls, if she puts her out of the game, it's just going to completely cut off another digit and another way that Warsaw can stay in that game. And she gets an easy basket. But the one thing I would say about the balance is those kids are all individually talented enough to be able to approach every game with the mindset that they are going to try to go out and have a game high or have a team high or exceed their point per game expectation or whatever it is. And Carly Mollering is and I don't know why, maybe this is just a perception that I have in my head, but Carly Mollering is the kid who maybe people don't feel like she could do that. I love this kid's game. Like she shoots the ball really well. We'll get to the defensive side and what Homestead was doing. She's a big part of both ways. She's part of that class. But if you just said nothing is working, and Epps didn't have it going, and Helsum didn't have it going, and Knoll didn't have it going, and Ankenbrook isn't getting looks, and whatever it was, Carly Mollering is plenty capable enough of carrying a top-ranked team in the state through a game in the postseason. But that is something that I think, we'll talk about this probably toward the end of the episode, that styles make fights. Homestead tried to get that game into a balanced attack. I mean, they tried to get it out of this isn't going to be an Epps, Bricker, Zartman show. Like, they wanted everybody touching the basketball. They wanted different people scoring the ball. They were trying to facilitate ball movement. You could really see that happening, and they did a great job of it, particularly in the second half. They
came out so hot from three, and I almost kind of wondered if Warsaw was trying to look to just like clog the lane and keep them out to three, and I was wrong. It was the opposite of that. I asked Brooke Zartman that after the game, and she laughed. She's like, no, God, no. She says communication-wise, it just wasn't working out there. They compacted into kind of the 1-3, or compacted. Their 1-3-1 zone got compacted. Homestead started hitting the threes, and the communication was out of whack for Warsaw defensively. Homestead takes off, and I mean, it just snowballed from there. It was a really competitive first half, but I don't know about you. The second half, it never really felt like after that initial spurt by Homestead, like they ever really lost control after that. Like, Warsaw went on a couple runs, but it's like every time they did, somebody from Homestead hit a big basket. Mollering had the one, I think they kind of decided it. Yep. But it's just like every single time it was a bucket and then a steal and then usually another bucket. But at the very least, it was a steal that kind of stopped Warsaw's momentum, and they had to earn it and start over and recycle everything.
Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask you a question this isn't something that I know the answer to, or I'm trying to set you up. I really don't know where your head is at on this, but put yourself in Lenny Krebs' shoes, or any coach that has to play Coach Parker's Homestead outfit for that matter. Who don't you want shooting threes? Like, is there anybody, like, how would you defend them? Is it like, hey, I'm going to take Helsum away or I'm going to do this, or what is the one kid there that you're like, I can't let this kid go?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You take away. It's a great question. I really don't know, because I mean, I know, because like you said, Mollering, we saw it last night. She's so capable of hitting those perimeter shots. So if you shade away from her and like try to take away Ankenbrook, who had a great night last night, well, that's fine. Carly Mollering you're gonna be leaving Carly Mollering open. By Epps last night, you try to shade away from her. Well, we've all seen what she can do. She did against Snyder. You know what I mean? I don't know. I wonder, I'd be curious to see Homestead versus like a Center Grove. I'd love to see a rematch with HSE too, which is like the way that they run their defenses. And we could see that HSE rematch in the regional again. How would you approach it?
I don't know. Here's why I asked that question. One, because I knew I was going to talk about the balance on tonight's episode. But the other reason was the outward reaction of the coaching staff when Helsum would hit a three. Like, I just kind of felt like when Helsum hits a three, it has more than a 3-point effect on the game, because I felt like that's what they were trying to eliminate. I'm not suggesting that they were happy or satisfied or okay with the fact that Mollering was hitting threes, but when you can't certainly take everybody away if you are going to give additional attention to one of those players. Like, something has to give, and they have passed every test along the way in regards to, well, okay, you're going to let Carly Mollering win the basketball game, fine. Oh, we're going to change the pickup point on Delaney Knoll, okay, fine. Maya Epps showed that she's going to go out and get 42 when you single her. So that I think is every coach, when they prepare in the postseason to play Homestead, that's the first question I think that they need to ask. This is for the man-to-man teams, certainly. And we'll talk about, that kind of that Norwell matchup, who is not a man-to-man team. But I do think that that's the first thing. Where do I put my best defender? Where do I What rules do I give the person that's guarding Helsum? What are the rules that I give somebody guarding Ankenbrook? And I'll tell you, one of the things that was very beneficial last night in Warsaw's favor was the fact that they got to see some of those things that, it's not the first time they've played. The second time around, maybe they learned something last night about how to match up against Homestead. We'll see.
Yep, a couple real quick points here before we bring on Erin. Gabby Helsum averages 2.5 threes per game. Ankenbrook is at two per game. Helsum shooting 45% for three. Ankenbrook's at 39%. Those numbers mean anything. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, just again, the balance and versatility, that team's amazing. And then something too, tying a bow on this portion of the conversation, because I do want to talk Homestead's defense here later, but Homestead too will have the challenge, if they were to meet again, of ideally a fully healthy Warsaw team, and they haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that changes things, but that'll be an interesting dynamic to watch. Danny, let's go ahead and switch gears here. Let's move over to Class 3A, staying to the north side, though. Joined now by Erin Trimpe. Erin, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing?
Great. It's good to see you.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Hamilton Heights 14-5 on the year, coming off a loss last night to Huntington North, but a big weekend ahead for you guys with Rensselaer Central for the conference championship, and then Pendleton Heights, and then just for kicks and giggles the following Tuesday, Heritage Christian. That's a very very loaded finish to the year.
Yes. Now, to be fair, we were only supposed to have two more games. Huntington and Pendleton are both reschedules. So weather and volleyball semi-state kind of got us early in the season, so had to unfortunately load up the last week.
And fortunately, I mean, your sectional too is, maybe just like the deepest in the state, so that's fun too.
Yeah, I mean, easy peasy for these little freshmen. 9 freshmen on my team, they're ready for that.
That's actually where I wanted to start with you. With such a young group, I guess, just what has this season been like so far with them, and just talk to us about the group of kids you got.
Yeah, it's been a whole new experience for me. It's the youngest team I've ever coached. I'd love to see the record books for, how many freshmen are on the starting lineup or coming off the bench. But the great thing is it's just a learning experience every day. They're learning and absorbing so much new information. And as coaches, because they are so talented, we sometimes forget that they are 14 and they are freshmen and they haven't seen this level of play with scouting reports and the physicality and the strength and everything that's being thrown at them. So it's been a very new experience for us to just come in every day. And, you think a drill is only going to take 20 minutes. And then you realize hey, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Let's move it to 45 minutes. So the balance of that has been really interesting, but they're all sponges. They're competitive. They love to work. They love the game. And they're eager to learn, which is always great to see.
What have you learned about it? I had some experience in the last couple of years of coaching some younger teams with some freshmen on them, and it had been years. Like, Erin, it's very different. Like, I learned a lot about myself as a coach. Can you put that into words for us a little bit of maybe the differences that you're experiencing this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's unique with high school too is you can have a wide array of ages. And so typically when I've had a super talented freshman, I'm thinking, Bridget Dunn, Kate Clark, Emily Roper, all kind of coming through Carmel. We had good senior leadership that I could rely on, that I could look at and say, hey, they really need to be pulled along, show them how to communicate, show them how to play. And while we have good leadership, we don't have just that solid senior leadership that's been through it with me. I'm brand new coach even for our juniors. It's only the second year with them. So I've had to really take a look within and talk about my patience and talk about my verbiage and understand, how their minds work and, understanding the look when they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. And being able to kind of break myself down and get down to the basics. So it's been a huge learning experience for me. I've loved every minute of it. It's brought a lot of joy back into just the fundamental of basketball for me. But yeah, it's been tough. And I'm lucky to have such a great coaching staff that can look at me sometimes too and say they have no idea what you're saying right now. You've got to slow it down. So it's been a really interesting change of dynamic for me and my coaching style.
I want to settle in on one of the freshmen at the beginning of this conversation here, Riley Suarez. Statistically, I mean, I'll pull it up. 47% from three. Like what? Okay, so 47% from three, 83% from the line, 60%. She's leading in scoring. She doesn't look like a freshman physically out there. Do statistics tell the story? Tell us what's going on behind the scenes with her. How has her progression been this year? And what's the deal? Those are ridiculous numbers.
They're crazy numbers, and especially she is their focus every single night. I've been incredibly impressed with her physicality because she is getting every team's best senior physical post player that's trying to, limit a lot of what she does. And, we laugh when we watch in film to our guards. There'll be 4 girls on her, and they're all like, yeah, we're just going to throw it to her. She'll go get it. And so, she's just been incredibly impressive. Her numbers don't even show how hard she works in practice and the time she puts outside of it. And just like how many questions she has. She's never satisfied, which is good and bad, because you do want to look at her sometimes and be like, Riley, you just scored 35 points. Like that was good. That was really good. And she'll tend to focus on like, yeah, but that one shot that I didn't take, or I didn't get that offensive rebound. So it's with her, it's just so interesting because she is so talented, and just trying to help her find the joy in everything that she does, because she is, I mean, there's some things that she does that I'll look back at my coaches and say like, wow, it's really impressive. And for her to come in her freshman year and put those numbers up, we knew that she was special, and we knew she was going to come in and be our leader. But I mean, every time she touches the ball, something good is happening.
That's great. We'll certainly get into ISIL and the update there, but before we do, Addison Bloom, Zoe Curry, I mean, it's not just Riley Suarez in this freshman class. You mentioned earlier in the conversation that you had 9 of them there. I think at one point in time you were starting 5 seniors, or most of the time it's 4 freshmen and the junior. Addison Bloom, I mean, 38% from the line. Zoe Curry from the 3-point line. Zoe Curry, 60% from the field, had a game high yesterday in your game at Huntington North, a 4A opponent. Beyond Suarez, tell us about these other 2 young freshmen, Curry and Bloom.
And both of them, the great thing is they have such great chemistry, and like you can't teach that. And that is something that develops as they get older. So for them to come in as freshmen and play together as much as they have plays a huge part, because they really understand each other and they know how to look for each other. Addison is always ready to shoot, and she's one of those kids, again, every time it's in the air, you're very confident that it's going in. She's one that we've had a lot of conversations with as far as, hey, scouting reports are going to know, like, you're letting that thing fly and you can let it fly from anywhere. So how do we add more to your game so that you can be a little bit more dynamic? And she's really owned up to that. And she's done a great job of adding, a little drive to the basket. She's really good about getting stopped and trying to find her teammates, which has been great. So she's, somebody that stretches the defense out really well, which obviously benefits both Zoe Curry and Riley. And then, Zoe stepping up last night was huge to see. We've been begging for that. She was playing like that in November. When we played Chittard, she let 3 threes fly within the first 4 minutes of the game that we were just like, and she made all of them. I mean, so for her, it's just that confidence. She's a quiet little soul. And she's hilarious. She has a great personality. She's always behind the scenes smiling, but to get her to have that competitive killer mentality, last night she turned it on, and she was, looking for her shot and did everything that we needed her to do to step up at the beginning there.
It is unclear whether you'll agree with this completely, but I think there's a difference between having a gifted scorers like, Bloom and Suarez as freshmen, and having a freshman point guard. Bailey ISIL, I don't know the medical update. I certainly don't want you to tell us anything we're not supposed to know, or violate HIPAA, or whatever. But I do know that she was out. I think you're probably going to parlay this into a transition into Stella Taylor and her importance to you. But let's talk about Bailey ISIL, because what showed on film through the first 15, 16 games is this kid, you are asking her to run a system, handle the basketball, defend the other team's point guard, make shots when appropriate, something different every night. You are asking a lot of a 15-year-old kid.
Bailey makes us go. I mean, she is the heart and soul of the team. And not only did I ask her to do it, I mean, she stepped up and asked to do it. When you talk about like just a pure competitor who loves the game, who wants to be in the gym, ultimate teammate, that's Bailey. And I did chat with her and I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable with anything I had to say, but unfortunately we are not going to have her the rest of the season, which is a really, really big adjustment for us. And that does lead us to Stella, but, Bailey was, I mean, you're devastated for Bailey, first of all, because that kid worked so hard. And, I don't think anyone really expected her to be the one of all of those really talented freshmen to be the motor and the heart and everything that our team does. Especially when you have kids who are such high scorers, like Bloom, like Riley. But Bailey came in and she's just such a game changer. So it's going to be a really big adjustment and it's going to have to happen fast. We had one practice Monday to get ready for 4A Huntington North last night, and threw Stella into a really tough spot because, I mean, Bailey led us in minutes. She never came off the floor. And if she did, it was not for long. She did a great job of staying out of foul trouble. She did a great job. Her motor, she did not get tired. So that safety net that our team had, and just like her being able to control the tempo and control everything that we did, it's a big adjustment, especially for young kids. So we threw Stella in there last night and she did a great job. She had 8 assists. She did a great job scoring. She was aggressive when she needed to be. Defensively, she was great. But yeah, to go from off the ball every single possession to saying you need to run this system the entire game from here on out is a huge ask of a freshman in general. And she stepped up to the plate. I thought she did a great job last night.
That's cool. Great answer. Thanks for the update on Bailey. And we're really sorry. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the ISIL family.
Yeah, she's such a good kid. We're devastated for her, but she's on the sideline. She's Coach Bay now, so she'll be involved. She'll get them ready to go.
Erin, I have one more question before I'll throw it back to Hank and to close out the interview. One of the more, I'll call it an iconic game. Like you mentioned Kate Clark earlier, like the sectional semifinal or final at Zionsville a few years back in one of the sectional eights. Honestly, they're the best games that sectional has put out in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, that was an incredible year.
Yeah, like, okay. So you have that experience. You have that experience with Kate. Here you have these kids who have never played in a sectional, but they've navigated this. Like, how do you balance? Like, how do you balance preparing that? Is there any way to prepare these freshmen for? Because I was there at that game, and it could have gone either way. It was a game that it went a long ways in regards to who won the state championship. We all know what happened that year with Noblesville and Ashland, but you almost got them in that game.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're doing to prepare for sectionals.
It is an interesting change too, because in that sectional, everyone is so familiar with each other in sectional 8. I mean, those kids play together their whole lives. They grow up together. We play each other during the season. So the knowledge and the familiarity they have, with each other it helps. It does. For our sectional here, these freshmen don't have that, like, I want to beat this team. I take it personally. This is my rival. I hate them. I want to beat them. They're just kind of like, yeah, I want to win. But what does that take? And, you're going to have teams who hate Hamilton Heights, who, like, that is a huge goal of theirs to beat them, especially after the success that they had, for 4 straight years in that sectional. So for some of those juniors and seniors in that sectional, it's still personal to them, and it should be. And that's what I hope our kids will feel in 2 to 3 years, as they get up there. But I don't think that they, until they're on the floor of a sectional game and the crowd is crazy and there's multiple teams there scouting and it's a do or die situation, I don't know that they'll fully be able to take it all in. And I think that might be a good thing. Hopefully it lessens their nerves, and hopefully they're just like, yeah, it's just basketball. We're fine. So, we've played a couple of them. We've had good success against some. We've learned a lot against them. And, no matter the draw, we're finding somebody that we're going to have to, really, really battle with, which is what you want. It's fun. So they'll be ready. It's just it might be the first 4 minutes of wide-eyed fear. Might call a timeout pretty quickly in that one just to get them settled down. But yeah, it'll be an interesting experience for them.
Erin, I'll dive into the team with you when I see you guys on Friday. But one I wanted to ask about specifically, the junior, Cam Roten. I'm familiar with her from softball season, but on the basketball floor, she's putting up steady numbers for you guys. But what has her role kind of been with so many freshmen on the team?
Yeah, so she is our communicator. She's our emotional leader, good or bad. You know, we tell her that our team goes as she goes. If she's in a fun, jovial, wants to get after it, communicate kind of mood, everyone will follow her. If she gets frustrated with herself, which is natural, everyone's going to follow her. So it is a big ask of, you know, that body language and that mentality of like next play. She is, you know, she's a D1 softball player. She is super competitive. She's dedicated to her sport, and she finds ways to be a leader. And there's not a kid that I've ever been around that doesn't gravitate towards her and really feel her leadership and her love and her mentorship. For her, it's just keeping her out of her head sometimes because she is integral to those girls, those freshmen not panicking, and being able to find, you know, next play mentality, which is really our biggest struggle that we've had this season. So yeah, she's been incredible for us. She had a bad back injury last year, so you know, she missed an entire year. So then getting her back into that basketball stuff, but she is that older kid leadership that we need. And she understands winning, and she was on a sectional championship team. So yeah, we ask a lot of her, and she rises to the occasion every time, but sometimes it takes a little nudge to get her in the right direction.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, Erin, it's great to see you. I'm looking forward to watching you guys in action here on Friday. Best of luck here the rest of the way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Good to see both of you.
Take care.
Good luck, Erin.
Bye.
Yeah, well, tonight's coach, Erin Trimpe, with us. Danny, I'm going to bounce us right down south now. We're going to talk with Evansville Central senior Maddy Shirley, Coach Dave Alexander with us now. I don't know where Dave's camera just – oh, there he is. Hey, Dave. Hey, Maddy. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. I think Coach is frozen. Is he frozen for you guys too?
Yeah, it's just a black screen for me.
Black screen.
Okay. I'm going to pull him down, and Dave, if you want to log out and log back in, we'll talk to Maddy here for – oh, there he is.
Sorry,
howdy, Dave.
My computer died. I apologize.
All good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's great to see both of you guys. Things have really taken quite the turn for Evansville Central since that Hall of Fame Classic. You guys have not lost a game since then. You're coming off the win over Bloomington South. Maddy, I'll start with you. Just what changed there? I mean, even just over the course of that second game against Plainfield that's led to the sustained success.
Well, we played a really tough stretch there, so I feel like our confidence and like our trust in each other was getting kind of low, but I feel like that win over Plainfield showed like what we were capable to do, and it really boosted our confidence and showed that like we're still a really good team, and it's just been up from there.
Dave, it seems like contributions have been kind of beyond Maddy, obviously. You're starting to get some of those steadier contributions from other girls. What have you been seeing from the rest of the lineup here lately?
You know, we went through a period this year where some other girls really had to step up and take on different roles. And while that wasn't what we had on our plate to start the year, I think it's helped us in the long run because we've had to become more multidimensional as individuals. And I think it's helped us as a team kind of gain confidence and grow through tough times. But it's been great to see, you know, Livy Heil has really stepped up as, you know, a nice piece to go along with Maddy, and she can play inside and out. And Carson Moore is shooting the ball well, but she's also been handling the ball more for us well and stepping into a role she's never really played before. You know, and we got a few other girls who are playing first time varsity this year, but they're doing a great job of just kind of filling those spots that we need and competing every night. So I've been pleased with where we've gotten since the beginning of the year.
Maddy, have you felt that confidence from your teammates kind of coming along too? And if you could just talk us through what changes and emergencies you've seen from them.
Definitely, like he said, with our point guard getting hurt, it changed a lot of roles. So like Alexander said, Carson Moore was just a shooting guard at the beginning, and she's been handling the ball very well and stuff. And Livy Heil's taken on some of that too. She's been handling the ball. Other girls have stepped up and hit shots and made us hard to guard.
Maddy, you know, your Coach Alexander was talking about multi-dimensions. One of the things that we had seen on film was and he was always, maybe without the Glazer injury, was always trying to move you around, give you different looks, trying to keep the defense off balance. But maybe with the injury, though, you're forced to handle the basketball a little bit more. It just seems like you're bringing it up, directing a little bit more traffic. There's certainly the same focus on scoring, but you're having to really kind of exemplify the multi-dimensions that Coach Alexander was talking about. Can you talk about just you specifically and having to handle the basketball a little bit more and what that's been like for you?
At the beginning, it definitely was an adjustment, like having to learn how to score off the ball and being able to see the floor from a different perspective. It definitely has got me in better shape too, having to handle the ball with pressure. It was hard, but I feel like starting to get in the groove of it and other girls stepping up too has helped.
Yeah, well, you mentioned, like, Maddy, both of you now have mentioned both Heil and Moore. So I'll ask a follow-up question on each individual player. Like, I jotted a couple of notes down. You seemed, when screening the Bloomington South game, you seem to have like an on-floor chemistry with Heil specifically. You guys are a lot of times in, like double drag screen together. You guys both play from the elbows. There's a couple actions in your offense where there's a dribble handoff. There's some high-low action. You guys are a nice 1-2 punch. She's also a senior in the same class. Can you go a little bit more granular into you and Heil and how she's really helped you open up your game?
So me and Livy have played together since like 4th grade. We've played together for a very long time now, and like she's one of my best friends that I love both on and off the court. So I feel like the chemistry off the court definitely helps on the floor, and I feel like we see each other well because we're both 6 feet and we play kind of similar. Like we're both able to handle the ball and hit shots. So I feel like we just look for each other and have a lot of trust in each other. And it's probably came from playing with each other all these years.
Well, this question was original. Well, okay, he's back. So, Coach Alexander, I'll ask you. In the third quarter of the Bloomington South game last night, the score was 30-23. Carson Moore's the one that hits the 3. And then the next time she scores, so you're down 7, excuse me, okay? And then the next time she scores, it's to give Evansville Central a 7-point lead. Like it was kind of bookends. Like you got major contributions on the offensive side for her. But she drew the DeVries matchup last night in the absence of Julia Lashley. I mean, Violet Hall and Tatum DeVries became kind of more central figures from a defensive matchup perspective. But making big shots on the offensive side in your big run and drawing maybe the toughest defensive assignment in DeVries last night. I mean, you have to trust her. Is this something that we should expect in sectionals from Carson Moore and how you use her?
100%. And it's funny you talk about her defense because I'll say this because of what she is now. The reason why Carson struggled to see the floor the last few years was because of her defense. And we talked about it all the time. You're a great shooter, but you got to be able to sit down and guard people. And a lot of kids don't want to hear that and don't work on it. And in talking with her, that's something she actually put a focus in on the off season. And she would always want to guard Maddy in workouts. Or if I ever play, she'd want to guard me and be physical with us and learn how to attack angles and other different things. But she's really molded herself into a very good defender, and she's our best on-ball defender. She's physical. She moves her feet well. She understands angles. So she's kind of developed into that role, and it's a nice piece to have. She did an excellent job on DeVries. I think DeVries only had 3 points, and she can light it up. But she takes that matchup every time. She wants that matchup. She's already asked me our next few games out who's going to be on her, and I'm going to be on her, right? So I mean, she's fully accepted that role and wants that challenge. But she's a worker too. I mean, she's a girl that gets in the gym on her own and gets shots up and is constantly trying to work on how to add to her game. So she's been a joy to coach this year, and she's obviously a massive piece of what we're trying to do moving forward.
David, you're gonna absolutely hate this question because it's gonna give you nightmares, but Washington, Greensburg, Silver Creek, Charlestown, the Indianapolis schools, Roncalli, Cathedral. I have made Hank and IndyStar.com has an article with some of the things to watch, and 3A South the draw is a major deal. What I mean, what is your message to the team when you have literally 8, 9 basketball teams that could come out of 3A South, you being one of them? What is your approach as we approach, Selection Sunday and then the final week preparation before we get into sectional week in what I think is the toughest bracket any of the classes?
Well, you're probably going to hate my answer, but we try to focus on just the next game. So
Sure.
so right now the most
Right.
important thing is Mater Dei. It's a conference game. We're kind of sitting in that 3rd seed with them. So I mean, it's not the same as winning it, but we want to finish as high as the conference as we can. So we're focused on that game for tomorrow. Anytime we do talk the tournament, if we try not to look ahead at all, because 2 years ago, I would say that we were probably the favorite in that one, and we saw how that ended. We got upset in the championship. So the moment you start looking down that road at a possible regional or semi-state matchup, you might not be looking for long because you might be sitting on your couch. So we're going to keep our focus on the next game. And then when the regular season ends, it just becomes a 1-game season at a time, and just trying to get out of a sectional that right now has some teams playing really well in it.
And Maddy, I'll ask you kind of a follow-up question to you on that. And then I'll throw it back to Hank. This will be my last one. But Heil Moore and Shirley, those are the names that have come up in the interview. You guys are all seniors. What is your role in making sure that you guys stay grounded to keep that kind of 1-0 next game attitude, not looking ahead? How do the 3 of you kind of galvanize your team from a leadership perspective?
We talk about it a lot. Like, we only have 4 guaranteed games left. So we use that definitely one at a time thing, because like you never know when your last game's going to be, especially with the injuries this year. You don't know when the last game's going to be. So we talk about going out there each game at a time, playing for each other, not only ourselves, and just giving it our all.
Maddy, you're up to 1,956 career points. Obviously,
Wow.
2,000 is within reach, could get it the next time out. But how much is that weighing on you? How much have you thought about that? Do you pay attention to that? Is this your first hearing of it? Is Sokolin giving you daily updates? Where are you at on 2,000 points?
I try not to think about it, because it will
Right there.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's definitely exciting and a personal goal that I hope to get, but like I said, or like Alexander talked about, us blowing that sectional championship away sucked worse than if I don't get this. So I'm kind of more focused on that, but yeah.
That's fair. I actually just got a text that said that Dave didn't want it out there how close she was.
It's okay.
So my bad on that.
She's zoned out on the number, so we're going to give her a bunch in the next few days so she doesn't remember what it is. She'll get there.
Dave, in my opinion, it's a foregone conclusion, but I'll allow you the space if you want to just make the case on Maddy, Indiana All-Stars and all that. Just why she's deserving, because we all know it, but you get to see her every day and obviously have a different relationship with her than us. So I'll let you have the floor, sir, and take it away.
I'm incredibly biased because I've been able to coach her for the last 4 years, but to me, you want an Indiana All-Star to be a player that represents themselves, their family, community, and the school all the right way. And I can tell you for the last 4 years that Maddy has been exactly that. She's allowed me to coach her hard, even from the time she was a freshman. I still remember in the sectional championship of that game, just staring her in the face and screaming at her to basically be better in a couple aspects of the game. And she was, and she went out and put us on her back, and we were able to win that sectional for her as a freshman. But you look at her grades, the trouble she's not been in school, the leadership thing she does. I mean, she is all around a great kid. She's active in our church. We actually go to church together. But she's active in our church and comes from a great family. And she chose to stay home and play at USI, and kind of shut the door early on recruiting. And we discussed that of what you might be leaving out there. But that's what she wanted. That's what's important to her, is she wants to stay home and stay close to family. But to me, she's for sure a top 8 player in the state, if not higher, who can score it in every way possible, as well as handle the ball and guard and block shots and rebound. And I think she's very deserving of it. I'm hoping she gets that recognition at the end of the year, but I don't have the final say in that. So hopefully that moment's there for her, though, because we'd love to come up and watch her.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, thanks so much for hopping on with us. We really appreciate it. Maddie, in advance, congratulations on 2,000 points, no matter how far away that may be. I've heard that it could be as many as 200 points from now. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Really long way to go. Thank you, guys. Best of luck here the rest of the way. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Maddy Shirley, David Alexander with us here on the scorers table. Man, that was I could tell from his face. I thought, man, David's making a face as I read out this number. I wonder why that is. And then Soak, without missing a beat in a very Kyle Soakland way, said that they were trying to keep that secret. But man, she impressive career. And I mean, this season too with Maddie, despite the injury, what she's doing is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think this is what I would say about Maddie. By the way, Hank, I do that once an episode where I'm just like, oh,
I was waiting for you to ask him who they wanted to draw in the region.
Yeah, I know.
I was waiting for you to. So, Coach, who do you want?
Yeah, who do you want? Who do you want? This is what I would say about Maddy Shirley, and maybe this is me saying something that I shouldn't say, but look, Evansville schools. You know, I know we have Soak on a regular basis here, and I know everybody really knows Maddy Shirley, but I remember last year when, people hadn't seen, Jocelyn Bricker play until they played HSE, at least around this kind of the central Indiana parts. I don't know that people have a true appreciation for Maddy Shirley's milestones and the offensive statistics that she's accumulated over her 4-year career and her Miss Basketball and Indiana All-Star candidacies. The thought would be very easily from somebody in these parts, oh, Evansville Central is down there in Evansville. They don't play anybody. Of course she's going to score 40 a game. And no, I don't think that's the case. I think you need to watch Evansville Central play, and I've seen them more than anybody might expect. But her ability with that high release to score 1v1, she's playing different positions. She's drawing more defensive attention than anybody could ever possibly imagine. But she's doing so in a way that is almost under the Indianapolis radar a little bit. And so, and maybe this is me kind of, helping Alexander and kind of making his point, but she does this if she's at an Indianapolis school. She does this if she's on, a school, on the 465 loop or something like that. She's a really gifted player, and just watch one half of one basketball game and watch how many people are draped over Maddy Shirley. And then tell me if you think that when she scores 40 in a game, it's impressive, because it is. There was the game last year, and I was talking and trying to remember it at the same time. 51. Was it Greensburg? Yeah, she had. Okay, you just said it was 51.
I think or 41. I'll look it up, but it was insane.
I think it was 50. Yeah, it was a lot, right? So that is something too, where if you end up getting singled and they don't bring a lot of help, and the defensive attention is to, we're going to let Maddy Shirley get what she gets, but we're going to shut down everybody else. She has now shown in a postseason game that she's going to go out and get 51 like she did last
43.
year.
Yeah.
43. Yeah.
46.
So that's the one thing that I think I always find super impressive about Maddy Shirley, is that she does it against a pretty good schedule, and she does it against defensive attention that is just not for the faint of heart.
That's interesting, because I felt like, and maybe this is just me in the way that I saw it, but I felt like that game, because we obviously knew her going into that. We had her on the show. We'd had and talked Evansville Central before. Obviously, having Soak on helps with a lot of that too. But I thought that Greensburg game was the one that really vaulted her on to the radar, because I remember searching Twitter from wherever I was working between semifinal games or on my way out to the Berry Bowl that night, and just kind of scrolling Twitter, and it was a lot of Maddy Shirley tweets. Like, did you see what this kid did? And it was talking about how Jason Simpson's plan was, we're not going to let anybody else beat us. We'll let Shirley get hers, and we'll see what happens. And the kid almost single-handedly beat Greensburg. They lost that game 83-71. But from what I remember, it was really close down the stretch. But I mean, 46 points was remarkable. But yeah, I've had this conversation with Soakland. I feel like she's a lock for Indiana All-Star. Like, I feel like she's in that category. And obviously weird things happen, but just the way that she's able to score the ball, you're trying to win a game. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to score like that when you're trying to win a game. Like she fits the mold. I think that she'd complement and pair really well with some of the other point guards in that class. Like it seems like a no-brainer pick to me, but I'm glad that we had Dave on, that he was able to make his case from a coach's perspective. Because obviously, like I said, he sees her from a different angle than you or I or most anyone else.
Yeah, zero disagreement in regards to Maddy Shirley being an Indiana All-Star. I tend to agree to the point where you said that it's a lock. Like I mean, I know you're trying to. I think I agree that she's on there. My closing thought on Evansville Central is when I screened them last, which was last night with the Bloomington South game. I was really impressed with Carson Moore. I mentioned the 1-2 punch and the chemistry with Heil, and it was nice to hear that they're friends kind of off the floor. But in order for Evansville Central to win games against some of the teams that I had mentioned in 3A South to deepen their run, they have to have production for outside of Maddy Shirley. Everybody knows that, okay? But it doesn't need to be a lot, right? I mean, I just want, at the risk of redundancy, I wanted to kind of relay what Carson did last night, because I kind of stumbled over telling that story. They're down 7. Carson Moore hits a 3 and then doesn't do anything offensively from a scoring the basketball perspective. Now, she had a really good rim run assist during that run. She was guarding DeVries during that entire run. And then she hit a 3 to punctuate the run, which ended up completing kind of that 14-point swing, giving Evansville Central the 7-point lead. That's the kind of production that I'm talking about. Just big momentum turning threes, blocked shots, rim run passes, making free throws. Something like that is what Maddy needs in order to say, okay, thanks Carson, thanks Heil, I got it from here. And in a close game in the fourth quarter, if you have the best player on the floor, you're going to have a chance to win it. And right. I think those kids now, with the experience that they've had through this season, and again, we just had Erin Trimpe on. These are not kids that have never been there. Like these are seniors that have been around that program, know what Alexander's all about, know what Evansville basketball is all about, know what that sectional is all about. And I really believe that they are maybe a more difficult team to beat in the tournament than I had originally given them credit for, because I was really going into that screen thinking they're not winning these. It has to be more than Maddy. And I wanted to try to uncover why. It's these other two seniors. Like Heil and Moore have been really good.
Yeah, they're really good. Let's see. Let's quickly tie a bow, I think, on that Homestead-Warsaw conversation. We had to bail out there, but I wanted to talk about the Homestead defense, the adjustments that they made, the way that they were doubling Bricker. They moved Epps onto Bricker, but also were a lot better at communicating and reading, it seemed like, on the double teams. They left Zartman open a few times, but by and large, they did a good job. On the other side for Warsaw, I was kind of curious how they were going to attack things, being so shorthanded. It kind of just seemed like in the first half was Jocelyn make some things happen for us. What was your read on it? I was a little bit surprised that maybe they didn't try to get Zartman involved a little bit more early, just to try and loosen things up a little bit. But I mean, it's trial and error, and at the same time, you probably don't want to give too much away, knowing the possibilities of a rematch down the line, not to mention other teams watching film, I suppose.
I think, Hank, it was a little bit more evident in the second half than it was in the first half. And maybe it was because they were a little bit more effective. I don't know if it was a halftime adjustment per se. But one of the things that I marveled at with the defensive efforts of Homestead in the second half was there was a lot of unpredictability with what they were going to do in regards to double. It looked like they were going to trap any ball screen that Zartman wasn't involved in. So they were going to dedicate 2 on Bricker when she came off of any of the actions. They were all in help position when she wanted to get downhill, and they were trying to clear sides, and they were trying to widen gaps, and they were trying to penetrate towards Zartman's side where help was kind of turned to it. But what I marveled at was the fact that when Zartman set a ball screen, which in some of their script stuff, there is a lot of that stuff, that there was a different read that needed to take place. They were switching on the action when Zartman would set the ball screen and trapping on the action when Zartman wasn't setting the ball screen. That stuff requires the utmost communication. You have to be locked in. When you're switching everything and off-ball action, you could find yourself, okay, well, I'm not on Zartman, so I'm going to trap Bricker on a ball screen. And then there's a down screen. You find yourself on Zartman, and then it's switch. Those are things that when it just shows the level of IQ and execution that Homestead has that I think is maybe a little bit next level than what some schools and some coaches might be used to be able to do that. But I thought in the second half, there was just way too much paint congestion. They were never going to let Jocelyn Bricker. There was the sustainability of being able to 26 of 30 points. They weren't going to let her do that again in the second half, and they kept them off balance a little bit. But that defense, I think, was really the difference in the game, because they couldn't just say, okay, we're going to attack this kid, or this is the way they're playing ball screen. It was something different every time down the floor.
Fascinating to watch. Really fascinating to watch. I will use that as a pivot point to a game that's coming up this weekend as we come up here on the hour mark. Hamilton Southeastern-Center Grove. I was talking to a coach on my drive back yesterday, just kind of analyzing that matchup. I mean, that is going to be a fascinating one to watch, where you have two Miss Basketball candidates in Grayson Gilliard and KK Holman. You have two phenomenal defenses, two phenomenal pack line defenses. The coach that I was talking to, their opinion was that if HSE has the lead with a couple minutes left, it's game over because of the way that they defend, which is interesting. The way that I approach it is just, I mean, Center Grove has these lulls offensively, but they're so suffocating defensively. It's like, if Center Grove can get up early, I think that if HSE gets up early, that could be, they could win that thing by 10. But then on the other side, if Center Grove is able to get up early, it seems like whoever's able to punch first is what I'm getting at. Whoever's able to punch first and get ahead in that game is going to be in good shape.
I do think that the lead is important in regards to being able to set your defense, certainly. But that one does have all the makings, and it's relatively low stake, because whoever does lose that game, and this is the part that you hate it more than anybody else. But I mean, it's just, it doesn't matter. Like win or lose, they would only see that opponent again should that game be played downtown for the state championship. So, I don't think Center Grove, although I'm sure they want to be undefeated and want to be the number one team, I don't think they really care either. It has, like you mentioned, and it's so good that I think it bears worth repeating, the Holman and Gilliard matchup. But I talked about earlier how styles make fights, right? And you look at stylistically teams like Pike, teams like Homestead, teams that are trying to get into depth, maybe okay with running a little bit. These two teams seem to be constructed stylistically the same way. It just seems like that. And if we're wrong, I think that will come out in a 1v1 matchup between HSE and Center Grove. But that one is really interesting, because if styles make fights and they play the same style, then I think we learn a lot about those two teams in particular with how they match up with each other. So I'm very interested to see what the outcome is there.
They say to expect the unexpected, so I'm expecting that game to finish somewhere in like the 70s or 80s.
For sure.
Like double or triple what most people would have expected for that game. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, I know. Well, Center Grove tripped up. They ended the long Cathedral's
13-game win streak.
Yeah, the 13-game win streak, and I'm sure that wasn't easy. Going to Cathedral in a game that they really wanted. There was no video. Like, it was like the stream was an audio. I was going to watch it. I gave the audio a chance, and I was like, I'm a visual person. I kind of got off of it, and we've covered both of those teams enough where I feel really good into knowing what they do and what they're trying to do. But they're coming off one, and then HSE they don't just have Center Grove. I think they also have Lawrence North, and I think they also have Pike. And so that last week after the sectional draw, if you remember that, and this was 2 years ago, but that was the game that kind of turned Pike's season. The one at HSE 2 years ago, when they were below 500, They were just an average outfit. Keith was really just kind of starting out as a coach, didn't really know who he was, who his team was. They go to HSE, they win that game, and it's the game that springboarded them into their first deep postseason run. And then they were able to back it up with a good regular season last season, and then obviously the very deep run that Pike had last season. So HSE, Pike, Center Grove, 3 of the maybe 6 favorites are in 4A are all going to be in action, 3 of them against each other in that final week to the season after the draw on Sunday. So there's still some work to be done before we start throwing out predictions and really diving into the brackets. There's definitely a little bit more work to be done from an evaluation perspective, and next week is going to go a long ways toward doing that.
Couple other games that I at least wanted to mention here. Roncalli holds off New Pal last night, 58-56. New Pal's come really close. I tweeted this out last night. They've come really close to beating some really good teams and hung with some really good teams like Pendleton Heights. So they're going to be ones to watch in that section. Roncalli, on the other hand, they're 18-3 and continue to just roll along and do their things. But in a sectional setting against a rival, weird things happen. Plainfield, 45-38 over Franklin Central. Really nice win for the Quakers, who are without Berkeley Williams, who's out with injury right now. That's 2 in a row for them now. They've won at Franklin, 61-51, at Franklin Central, 45-38. They have Mooresville Decatur Central to close out the year, so that one is of note. Lillie Graves out at McCutcheon's at the school's all-time scoring record. Lanaya Wills, we believe, at LaPel, we believe that she just crossed the state's all-time rebounding record. And then I think it was Maya Layton, I believe, at Lafayette Jeff, became the county's all-time leading scorer. I want to say, for those who keep track of those things. So a lot going on there as well. Anything else, Danny, that you wanted to touch on or get to here?
Yeah, so I watched Pike-Brownsburg. Pike-Brownsburg, I'm kind of gearing up into sectionals. I was very anxious, not necessarily to see Pike, but more so Brownsburg and the way that they match up with them. In the first half of that game, first quarter of that game, they were right there with them. But they gave up 90 points. Here's the thing that I conclude with Brownsburg is they are a lot better when they're getting stops. Okay, Captain Obvious, of course, right? But I think I think they like to run, and I noticed a lot of effectiveness when they were able to get in transition, particularly when they pitched the basketball and were able to get into space. I think when Brownsburg struggled last night against Pike was when they had to try to score against Pike's set defense. Keith was running a little bit of an extended odd fronts in the game last night, and I thought that really kind of controlled a little bit of the tempo. So in that sectional, I believe it's 11. In sectional 11, which is one of the best matchups that's out there, if Brownsburg were to meet Pike early in the week, you guys can prepare yourselves for this. It's going to be Brownsburg's defense that I will talk about as the key to the game, and I thought that's what showed in the regular season. On the Pike side of things, the depth. Okay.
It's insane.
Fine. It is insane. All right. But now Malia Evans is now a part of that depth. She was always getting minutes. She was always making plays. But I think in the last 2 games, she's led them in scoring over that same time period. I think she scored 30 points in 2 games. I think she's had 6 threes. Mimi Williams had, I believe it maybe was a concussion. I'm not sure. Again, HIPAA violation there, but something that kept her out of senior night. She comes back and hits 2 first half threes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the depth is something that you just say exists, and it's something that is there and that you have to deal with, but it's also statistically backed up. And now that Malia Evans is a real threat, she was really good. Keith was setting like the screen in their flat offense. Like he was setting it with her. She was jumping into different angles. Savea Mitchell was a kid who we talked about has had a ton of success on middle ball screen for Pike. She drew 2 defenders instead of rolling and rising on the weak side of that. They just spun it out. The first play that Malia got in that flat action set in the screen was a little spin out, little over the hook pass from Vay Mitchell, and Malia Evans hit her second 3 of the quarter in that possession. And so I'm watching the game being like, enough already with the production that you're getting from your kids, Keith, like enough.
Marley Jeffers too is really starting to pick it up here of late. I mean, since the Roncalli game, the Marion County Championship, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double doubles in the game since the Roncalli and the Marion County Championship game. She's starting to score consistently in double figures. She gets the block. She affects the game in so many different ways inside. that's just another piece for Pike to lean on. That's a great sign for them because that sectional is one of the most difficult there in Class 4A. Brownsburg, by the way, the schedule, there finally is a very slight couple respites here. They play Westfield on Friday, which is obviously not the respite. Westfield is a contender in Section 8, but they do play at Class A Shakamak before going out to Bloomington and then out to Zionsville. Zionsville 10-9. They're picking up here. They have a couple wins in a row now, but Brownsburg would be favored in that game at the very least. So a little bit of a respite after navigating just a brutally, brutally difficult schedule with zero let up at all for Brownsburg. Plans for Sunday, Danny and I will be back, I think, with a regular show on Sunday morning with a couple of guests, just talking the week that happened. There's some big games, obviously, Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday night, 10 o'clock, I believe, is when we usually do it. We're going to have a live sectional draw reaction show. It'll be Danny, me, and Deanne Ramey talking it over, breaking down some brackets, and then we're into sectional season. We'll have still probably the recap shows. We'll have some preview stuff as well. Lots of written content on IndyStar.com, so if you haven't yet, I recommend subscribing there. For sure, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, we'll have post-game shows throughout sectional week and the regionals and the semi-state. We're going to have some preview shows in there, and then once it gets to championship week, we'll do some different fun things. We are already starting to discuss, Danny and I, some fun guests to have lined up and some different surprises for you folks. But thank you all so much for watching here tonight. We'll be back here in a couple days, and we'll be ready to talk some bingo balls after that. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See you guys.